So I've got my pot noodle here. It's all, I'm living high on the fucking hog. But while that's cooking, I wanted to talk about something really that I don't want to talk on one of my main channels, because I've just no need to anymore, which was I wanted to talk about Kristi Winter's latest video on rape culture within the Catholic Church, which I don't think there'll be anybody watching this video who doesn't think that the Catholic Church has got some things to answer for with regard to all of that. And I don't have any problem describing the Catholic Church as having a rape culture, as being rape cultured. I don't have a problem with that. But I just found Kristi Winter's video worthy of a little bit of analysis, really, because I just didn't see the point of it, by and large. It was such a soft target and such a... well, I'm going to explain. I think it's just heading in the wrong direction. It's just, why would you go that way round? So... first, let me say that one of the reasons I wouldn't want to make this public is, one, because I don't think it deserves it. And I can't be asked, quite honestly, it's Kristi Winters, I can't be asked to put the time in anymore to make a video. I've had some exchanges with Kristi Winters. I've made some videos that I've spent some considerable time. Search for Kristi Winters on YouTube and you'll find several of my videos come up. One of them, the duplicity and... whatever it is of Kristi Winters, the hypocrisy and duplicity of Kristi Winters, had nearly 50,000 views, and it'll be one of the first search results that you found. I'm happy that of the exchanges that I've had with Kristi Winters, I've come out resolutely smelling of roses in those exchanges, and she's made herself look very, very, very stupid. So I've nothing really to gain in that department. And there's something slightly creepy and freaky about her, and obsessive. She must have over 100 videos now on Sargon of Akkad, and over 100 videos on Bearing. Over 100 videos on specific individuals. How would she portray that if that was the other way around? If that was a male YouTuber who'd made over 100 videos obsessing over a female YouTuber, she'd regard it as creepy and stalkerish. There is something creepy and stalkerish about Kristi. Something obsessive. Something not quite right. So I prefer to talk about it in this venue here, really. But I watched the video, and the evidence and most of the arguments that she made, I didn't really have a problem with. I mean, I think most people would agree there's a problem with the Catholic Church. I disagree a little bit with this whole way of saying the Catholic Church is a rape culture, because it's obviously there's a lot more to the Catholic Church than that, and it's kind of misportraying things. I've got a large forehead. You wouldn't say Noel Plum is a large forehead. You would say Noel Plum has a large forehead, because that's an acceptance that that is a feature that I have, but it isn't the whole of me, that there are other aspects to me. I'm not just some giant large forehead sat there in a room not doing anything, an inanimate large forehead, right? And so it is with the Catholic Church. I think it's a fair case to say that it has a rape culture, or that it is rape cultured, but it does very many things. About a sixth of state-funded schools in the UK are controlled by the Catholic Church. I wish they weren't, by the way, but you wouldn't say that they're rape cultures, would you? And yet they are part of the activity of the Catholic Church. So, yeah, the Catholic Church has a religious culture, obviously, but it isn't. You wouldn't say the Catholic Church is a religious culture, because it isn't. There's a lot more to the Catholic Church than just the culture of the Catholic Church. So that was a minor objection, I suppose, a linguistic objection. But a linguistic objection because the way that you phrase things, you can use the way you phrase things to skew a conversation, and you can use it to minimise bad things, but you can also use it to maximise and misportray them as well. And I think there's an element of that going on, and it's going on largely because Kristi Winters has this big obsession with rape culture, likes to talk about it at every touch and turn. And what a soft target she picks with the Catholic Church. Frankly, it's about the softest target you could possibly pick. There's 2 points that I wanted to mention with it. The first is that I don't have really an objection with describing the Catholic Church as having a rape culture. I don't object to that. The only thing that I would say with regard to that, and it'll chime into the second point, is that one of the fundamental components of rape culture, the idea of rape culture, is the idea of normalization of attitudes towards something, which what normalization means is making it seem normal, mundane, and acceptable within society. And clearly, as she herself describes the activities of the Catholic Church, it's the very opposite of that, right? I gave an example in a disagreement with her before about homosexuality in Iran, and Ahmadinejad, President Ahmadinejad, saying that there are no homosexual men in Iran, right? That isn't normalizing homosexuality in Iran, right? Sweeping it under the carpet and pretending it doesn't happen isn't fucking normalizing it. And indeed, with regard to the Catholic Church, a lot of the abuse that's taken place have been of young boys, right? So there's a homosexual element to some of that. But I'm sure she wouldn't say that sweeping that under the carpet, that allowing those priests to carry on, that had that homosexual paedophilic tendencies towards those choir boys, was normalising homosexuality. In fact, quite the opposite. They're hiding away the homosexuality of Catholic priests because it's not normalised within the Catholic Church. So I do think that in a way it fails the normalisation test. The differential that I would make, I suppose, and why I would accept the label of rape culture when applied to the Catholic Church, is that unlike the Iran example, the lack of normalisation, the suppression of homosexuality within Iran hasn't led to more homosexuality. Whereas the suppression of abuse, we're not talking about the suppression of homosexuality, but the suppression of abuse within the Catholic Church has probably led to more of it, right? That if those things hadn't been suppressed, that these things would have been tackled. So that is a difference there. And that is where I think you could maybe, I'd accept that label. But nevertheless, I think it's an important key difference, because you can have situations, of course the term rape culture started being used in prisons, and you can hear documentaries where you talk about prisoners in these scenarios, where the idea of rape and male sex amongst heterosexual males has been normalised, and it's talked about in those terms, that it's kind of deemed as acceptable while they're inside. They do accept it as part of what happens. And that if you want to get on in those particularly brutal prison environments, that's part of what happens. So I can see where normalisation fits in to those things. And I think it's important. This is the thing that I couldn't get my head around. Clearly listening to a talk about the Catholic Church and everything that's gone on there, clearly she feels very mad and disturbed and upset about the things that have happened, and quite rightly. And yet a whole video seems less concerned with what has happened and more concerned with applying, like the whole business of the video is to show to us that we can use the term rape culture for what has taken place. Why? And this is ultimately, as I'm listening to it, what is the whole point of this? Surely the important point is generally you go from a broad label and then start exploring the finer detail. Because the finer detail is really fucking important. Whereas she's going from the finer detail and smudging it all out with a sponge. So it just is a mush, which she's then going to label rape culture. How has that aided anything with regard to viewing the Catholic Church or viewing what has gone on? Especially, as I say, when you have these very blurred lines with things such as rape culture. In terms of somebody like Kristi Winters, you can throw anything into there. Telling rape jokes is rape culture, right? Saying sexist comments to a woman passing by a building site is rape culture. Very particularly here, normalising attitudes towards something is rape culture, but similarly, the very opposite of it, accepting that attitudes towards something are very much not normalised, and so hiding it away is also rape culture. We have the fine detail with regard to the Catholic Church. We know which one of those things was taking place and which one of those wasn't. What is to be gained from taking the opposite process and going from that fine detail that we can examine and resolutely condemn to something, this broad, useless category that tells us very, very little? It seemed to me like the whole attitude, the whole exercise that she was taking part in here wasn't to get to terms, really, or promulgate the activities of the Catholic Church. It was really because she just wanted to talk about rape culture and just loves to say that this is a rape culture, right? And that's how it came across, which is a real sorry state of affairs if she genuinely feels as serious about this as she portrayed in the video. Okay, thoughts? Interested to know what you think about that.